Amish Mindset. Like, share, and subscribe. Hey guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? I'm still here. If you get anything from my work, an epiphany, a mic drop, a new book, a new author, to read and to expand your critical thinking, please consider donating. Keep me up, keep me alive, keep me fed. Very much appreciated for all the help and all the contributions that have come in thus far. I appreciate it. All the links will be down below. Tonight, I also was able to do 2 oracle readings. I unboxed some of my cards. Being that now I have no idea when my house is closing, when things are going to crash, if I'm staying here or not, I don't know what's going on. I'm here for now, so I took them out. So if you are into my oracle readings, very wise advice from Spirit, go check those out too. The Key of Destiny, the number 20. We're close to the end of this book, but what's going on in the world right now, we are walking, many of us, through these initiated steps. So it's very interesting to see where 20 is going to take us. The number 20 is Dispenser of wisdom. Quote, if thou wouldest have that stream of hard-earned knowledge, of wisdom, heaven-born, remain sweet running waters, thou shouldest not leave it to become a stagnant pond. Know if of Amit Abba, the boundless age, thou wouldst become co-worker, then runnest thou shed the light acquired, like to the Bhagavatras, twain upon the span of all 3 worlds, the voice of the silence, Blavatsky. Quote, God operates his works in heaven by angels and on earth by men, end quote, Officius Levy. The number 20 is composed of 2 complete cycles of 10, each containing the experience of the 9 digits. But unlike 10, which has the 1 or the divine standing at the right hand of the circle of unmanifested forces, in 20, we find 2, or the number of the mundane or differentiation. Here, the one life has become thoroughly materialized. It has not only entered into matter, but has evolved through it until man, the highest expression of duality, male and female, has realized his position and responsibility and has completed his cycle. Hence, in this number, he stands as the representative of God to all below him. In 20, therefore, we must consider man as God's ambassador, responsible for his works and also responsible to God for the kingdom and inhabitants of earth entrusted to him. In short, man has now become as one of us, the Elohim. In this present state of the world, it is only one here, there, during the ages, who has reached this state of attainment, yet there has never been an age which has not produced its initiates. And since the truth is recognized that power belongs to him who knows, so it is equally true that he who knows is responsible in exact proportion to the amount of his knowledge, for the use he makes of his power. For personal responsibilities cannot be evaded if true progress is to be obtained. Therefore, the initiate is one by who toil, self-sacrifice, and suffering has sought out the hidden mysteries of life and has, like Job, stood face to face with the Lord, the great law which spoke out of the whirlwind. And at his command, quote, gird up thy loins now like a man. I will demand of thee and declare thou unto me, end quote, has fearlessly answered, quote, here am I, end quote. Such an one has never been wanting in any age of the world, and in the early days of mankind, which initiates were the rulers of mankind. And as mankind advanced in intellectual knowledge, the greatest of all mysteries was given to all who received it, namely the truth that God dwelt in man. Be he ever so seemingly separated from God, that mankind are not separated atoms of matter driven helplessly hither and thither, nor are they children to be ruled and governed even by the elder brothers of the race, but are now responsible beings raised from the one divine light, the God or the spiritual Son. Quote, the only begotten Son of the Father, end quote, incarnate in the flesh, has a dwelling place within each soul. Hence, through this divine indwelling Christ, each man and woman has the power of reaching to the fullest of the Father. This doctrine has been universally taught by the wise men of all ages. Once man had reached the stage of individual responsibility, the close personal guidance given him in his child stage has little by little been superseded by the guidance from within. When this stage is reached, he must begin to recognize the God power within and learn to trust it as a sure guide and pathway to knowledge, and not look without to any superhuman guidance. Only thus will the mass of mankind reach the step symbolized by number 20, for its primal meaning is that God has fully clothed himself in man. The Word has been made flesh and dwells amongst us, not only in the great divine avatar, Jesus, whose life story was given us as an example of what each soul must obtain, but God has touched the physical plane in each man. From this point on, number 2 must be looked upon not as a number of separation or departure from the one, but as made up of two ones, God and man united in one figure. Spirit is syncing with me all day today. Number 20 must also be considered from the aspect of the knowledge of good and evil. But in 20, having passed 2 cycles of 10, it stands for one who has eaten of the tree of good and evil and has become as one of the Elohim, hence has the power to walk either in the right-hand path or the left according to his own will. But this he now does consciously, not ignorantly as before. The law of physical plane is duality. Hence the number 2 or the God-man now stands where the one stood in the first cycle. Quote, throughout the whole mystic literature of the ancient world, we detect the same idea of spiritual esotericism, that the personal God exists within, nowhere outside the worshiper. That personal deity is no vain breath or a fiction, but an immortal entity, the initiator of the initiates, now that the heavenly or celestial initiators of primitive humanity are no more among us. Note well that this does not say that there is no manifestation of God outside of man, but no personal God outside. The immortal entity spoken of is the ray of God, which has become the Father in heaven or personal God of each man and woman, just as surely as a ray of sunlight is an individualized expression of the sun. Yet just as the ray of sunshine has become embodied in a flower or fruit, so the immortal ray of God has become flesh of our flesh, is dwelling within each soul, in fact, is the real or divine self of each one. Hence, only as we listen, obey, and identify ourselves with the divine incarnate ray can we, like the flower or fruit, unfold our perfect pattern or become an initiate. This, however, does not postulate that we are gods now at the present stage of development, except potentially. We are only such when we demonstrate that the lower self has ceased to be governing power and the God in us sits on his throne and rules our lives in the sight of man. Only this incarnated God, power, can initiate us into all mysteries of being and make us one with all that is. So we can rule firstly ourselves, our bodies, our minds, our forces, then rule the forces of nature. Only when he can touch within ourselves the source of all forces in nature can we open the book of life, read and understand its concealed mysteries, converse with the bee and ant, understand the music of the spheres. Therefore, to the majority of students, 20 must stand as a great ultimate possibility, yet it must point to a positive fact, that they have within them the power of the Christ, that through this power of the Christ they can conquer, beginning with the little things that come to them day by day, realizing that mastery is a growth, that a fault one mastered never has to be mastered again, but it is stored up as power and lends its aid to master the next difficulty. A godlike quality such as love, compassion, or unselfishness, once built into our character, has strengthened the expression of our God nature, just that much more, and has given us power to obtain a new step. But this number must also remind us that being a human or a mundane number, it comes under the law of duality. Hence, we must have within it the two opposites. Since it stands at the right hand of the circle of unmanifested possibilities, thus 20, there must be two ways in which the circle can be manifested, either good or bad, black or white. Hence, number 20 stands for free will, or man with his developed will and the power to use it in deciding which path he shall tread. For the new circle is yet unmanifested. Kabbalistically, number 20 is called the breaker of the elements, one who has separated the elements and have gained control over them. According to Kabbalistic teachings, each soul has two angels, a good and an evil one. From Rach, reason, and Nifshis, passion, and I'm not saying that right, by the way, influenced by the good aspirations of Nishama, proceeds Michael, the good angel of the soul. From Nef-ish, dominating Ruach, and uninfluenced by the good aspirations of Neshma, proceeds Samael, the evil angel of the soul. Thus, the duality of man is explained. Reason controlling the passion creates a good angel Michael, literally a force which each soul draws from the sun, and entities which becomes a reliable helper towards the higher development. But when passion dominates or is excused and its indulgence is argued away by reason, it creates an entitized evil angel or genius, Samael, which is always ready to give a plausible excuse or reason why black should be called white and evil good. Sounds like our world right now. Again, the Kabbalah tells us that man's personality is an image which is double, since it can reflect either Michael or Samael. In other words, man can choose which likeness shall be imprinted upon the sensitive plate of his individuality. Once the choice is made, it is like a sensitized photographic plate. The more it is exposed to the light of the sun, the higher we climb, the more intense the image. This accounts for the fact that many persons have great spiritual unfoldment in charming manners, yet have deformed bodies or repulsive features. In some incarnation, they have permitted Samael to rule and find expression in their lives, hence must bear his imprint, until the rule of Michael can transmute it into his image. Hence the choice is, shall we let Michael or Samael rule our lives and make his imprint upon our bodies? Quote, sorry guys, my teeth almost flew out. Quote, beauty is but skin deep, end quote, is only a half-truth. For true beauty is an expression of soul development, or the beauty of holiness, which we ultimately produce as symmetrical expression on all planes and in all our bodies, beginning with the inner and most ethereal and gradual manifestating outwardly. For we could not imagine a Superman with a deformed body or repulsive visions. Those who today have beautiful bodies but evil minds are those who in the past have allowed Michael to rule, but who today are allowing the imprint of Samael to overlay that of Michael. In the Sifra Yitzriyas, the 20th path is the intellectual intelligence of will, and is so called because it is the means of preparation of all and each created being, and by this intelligence the existence of the primordial wisdom becomes known, end quote. Very interesting. The 20th letter, Rish. Quote, he produced Rish and referred it to the piece. He crowned it, combined it, and formed it with Saturn in the universe, the 6th day of the week, and the left nostril of man. And quote, Sifra Yitzraya. Quote, the number 1 signifies with the Alexandrian initiates a body erect, a living, standing man, he being the only animal that has the privilege. And by adding to the 1 a head, it was transformed into a P, a symbol of paternity and of the creative potency, while R signified a moving man. With his foot forward, went on his way. The sacred doctrine, Blavatsky. The 20th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Resh. It is a double letter corresponding to the planet Saturn, whose double aspects are the strength of silence and immobility and the dissolution of death, also peace and war. Its meaning is the head. That the head of man is the seat of a government. This letter corresponds very well with the meaning given to number 20 in the preceding chapter, for it is man standing upright, his head containing a brain so developed that it has unfolded or awakened the third eye or pineal gland, the center of spiritual sight situated in the middle of the brain. The pineal gland, or corim, you would think I took anatomy, but that's now we're going back 17 years ago. I would know how to pronounce these words. Corin orium is a round oblong body from 3 to 4 lines long of a deep reddish gray, connected with the posterior part of the third ventricle of the brain. It is attached at its base by 2 thin medullary cords, which diverge forward to the optic thallium. Remember that the latter are found by the best physiologic. Love my dyslexic brain today. Physiologists to be the organs of reception and condensation of the most sensitive and sensorial incantations from the periphery of the body, according to the occultists, from the periphery of the auric egg, which is our point of communication with the higher universal planes. We are further told that the two bands, of the optic thallium, which are inflicted to meet each other, unite on the median, line where they become two peduncles of the pineal gland. Pause. Yes, I took anatomy like a long time ago, and holy crap, am I disappointed in myself for not remembering how to pronounce some of these words or get them out. Quote, the pituitary body, or the hypophysis cerebri, is a small and hard organ about 6 lines broad, 3 long and 3 high. It is formed of an anterior bean shape and of a posterior and more rounded lobe, which are uniformly united. Its component parts, we are told, are almost identical with those of the pineal gland, yet not the slightest connection can be traced between the two centers. To this, however, occultists take exception. They know that there is a connection. Dissectors, on the other hand, have to deal with the corpses, and as they themselves admit, brain matter of all tissue and organs collapses and changes from the form the soonest, in fact, a few minutes after death. But the contraction and even interblending of parts in this process of shrinking and the subsequent pasty state of the brain do not imply that there is no connection between these two organs before death. When a man is in his normal condition, an adept can see the golden aura pulsating in both the centers, like the pulsation of the heart, which never ceases throughout life. This motion, however, under the abnormal condition of effort to develop clairvoyant faculties, becomes intensified, and the aura takes a stronger vibratory or swinging action. The arc of the pulsation of the pituitary body mounts upward more and more until, just as when the electric current strikes some solid object, the current finally strikes the pineal gland, and the dormant organ is awakened and set a-glowing with the pure Akashic fire. For a brief space of time, man becomes omniscient. The past and the future, space and time, disappear and become for him the present. If an adept, he will store the knowledge he thus gains in the physical memory, and nothing save the crime or indulging in black magic can obliterate the remembrance of it. If only a chela, portions along of the whole truth, will impress themselves on his memory, and he will have to repeat the process for years before he can become a fully initiated adept. Since the awakening of the pineal gland is the recognition of the great initiator, the real self under the guidance of Saturn, as we have said in the previous chapter, this attainment is the supreme power vested in the head and makes of the man the ruler over all beasts of the field. For man is the only animal in which this can be made to function in the higher realms. Also, as we want to speak of Saturn as the great initiator, it is well to understand that the process of opening the third eye is the work of Saturn, working through the higher self of the individual. The 20th letter is also connected with the left nostril of man, which corresponds to the life vehicle, while the right corresponds to the life principle. In other words, the life of the physical breath is drawn through the nostrils, and in the illuminated adept, it vitalized by the spiritual force from the auric vibrations through the pineal gland. But the two nostrils have each its own work to perform. The right carries the life principle outwardly, while the left, as it draws in the vital breath, becomes a vehicle of the more mysterious spiritual force of the inner life. Pause. That's why in some meditations, they have you breathing in and out through the nostrils in a certain sequence, so that you're working different lobes of your brain in conjunction together. It's very interesting. I've done it before. Tarot time. Judgment. Now, again, with this book, it's taking the oldest original card, just like the sun, and we're like, what the hell? It has nothing to do with what's on the card. This is the modern version of Judgment. The 20th tarot card, the Judgment. The 20th card of the tarot is called the Judgment. It pictures in the center of the card an angel with radiant wings. This angel is enthroned in the clouds, while the halo from him extends like an encircling wreath above his head, and around him, from his aura, great shafts of light, both positive and negative, shoot down to earth, symbolizing the human nature of the sign are that it must be interpreted in connection with the evolution of the pairs of opposites and man and woman. The angel is blowing a long straight horn, having a banner, blank page, attached, such as was by ancient heralds. On the banner, it is a balanced cross, which always means victory or the lifting up of the cross of suffering in crucifixion, and the folding up of the cube. In front of the angel, or let us say the herald, is an open tomb or initiation crypt from which emerges a child, while a man and woman stand outside the crypt facing the child with his hands clasped in admiration. This card has generally been interpreted as the resurrection and the last judgment of the dead. But the symbology does not carry out this idea at all, for it is pictures a well-known ceremony of the Eleusinian mysteries. Oh, I got that word right. Which marked the completion of the initiation. The tomb, as we have said, is the crypt in which the candidate must descend for the final ceremonies, which take place entirely on the high planes, while the physical body, in a state of suspended animation, is watched over, as depicted in this card, by a priest or priestess who are adepts of high degree. At the end of 3 days, a herald, by many described as an angel of light, announces the victory and awakens the candidates from his trance. The child emerging from the tomb represents such a candidate. He is represented as a child because he has just been reborn. For one who has passed the last crucial test was always called the twice born. The man and woman facing him are the spiritual parents, so called, because they have been his watchers and guides through the terrible experiences that have given him spiritual birth. The rays or shafts of light shooting from the aura of the herald are pictured as 20 in number, or in some versions only 12. Moreover, there are drops of water falling as a shower upon 3 figures. These are the symbol of heavenly dew or power, and they in turn are 20 in number. Also, these falling drops symbolize the baptism in the Jordan, which esoterically symbolizes one of the major initiations. In the revised medieval card, the man and woman are standing waist deep in water in a river while the child is about to step in, showing that man and woman have already been baptized and become initiates. It may also be questioned by some if there is any reason why a man and woman should occupy the place they do in symbology of this card. To all such we quote, women being left with the full or perfect cosmic number 10, the divine number of Jehovah, was deemed higher and more spiritual than man. In Egypt, in the days of old, the marriage service contained an article that women should be the lady of the Lord and real lord over him, the husband pledging himself to be obedient to his wife for the production of alchemical results such as the elixir of life and the philosopher's stone. For the spiritual help of the woman was needed by the men and male alchemists. No wonder they poo-poo Egyptians. Just saying. There are high adepts and masters who have reached this state through the feminine ray, but as far in evolution, the worldly conditions have been so strenuous that the extreme sensitivities of the initiate has required a masculine body to cope with the physical conditions. For this reason, the feminine ray has been exert itself helplessness from the higher planes or as incarnate in a masculine body. But when the feminine cycle or woman's age is fully manifested on earth, it will be different, and humanity may be surprised to see a feminine master manifesting in a feminine body, with heretofore has been impossible. And that ends number 20. If we take a look at this card and realize that we are embodying and realizing, many of us have already realized and understood this 20, we're all fractals of God. We all have a piece of God in us. And right now, humanity is waking up out of its sleep. See, zombies. God's waking everybody up from their sleep, their suspended state of brainwashing from the evil. They're waking up. This is what's happening. The trumpet will blow on the people who need it. Once you take the power within inside yourself and manifest it and understand what cycle we're going through right now is now incorporating the divine feminine back into society, into this world, and bringing it to neutrality with the divine masculine, you have to have both. But this world has been masculine heavy, taking the feminine out of just about everything. And now we're bringing it back into balance. But for a little bit, the feminine will have to come in and exert her power over things for a season so that we can obtain the balance to come back to neutrality. And that's what's happening now. Find the God spark within you. Find the powers that you came in here to be. Fascinating. I was just thinking about this today. I might actually do a spiritual soul advice on it. Because I think once people really understand what that means, we'd be better off as humanity. We would treat each other better because we'd see that all of us are of God. We have to treat everybody as equal. But we don't do that. Amish mindset, it takes a village. It takes all of us. Very fascinating. I'm really sad we're coming to the close of this book, was number 21, and I think there's a number 22. I have to find other books with this authors. I love their work. So, sending each and every one of you love and light. I hope that I'm able to finish this out before my move. Whenever that is, I don't know. But wherever I end up in land, I'll try to do these on the road until I find a place. So until next time, have a wonderful weekend, rest of your weekend, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.